Bada bing, bada boom.
Bada bing, bada boom. It's just that easy.
It's just that easy.
I don't sound like you when I say bada bing, bada boom.
It still sounds good though.
Yeah, okay.
All right, you two. G'day, viewers and listeners. It's Ed Fox with the Bada Bing, Bada Boom podcast. And my wonderful, amazing host, that she paid me to say that, that's Lisa Smith. Hey,
It's
Lisa.
just that easy.
It is just that easy, but I didn't say the tagline. Bada bing, bada boom.
It's just that easy.
It is just that easy. See, folks, you don't have to do it perfect. Like, you can mess it up and still have fun. And with us today, we have a great guest, Toni Boni. And we're not going to make fun of his name. I'm sure he put up with enough of that over the years. And Tony's in Orlando, Florida, and he's a Tradebank Regional Owner down there. But he's had a whole career before he ever came to Tradebank. And so, Lisa, why don't you take it away?
I'd love to. Tony, I know you came from a very impressive background with Xerox. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's 30 years, well, almost 30 years, 29 and a few months. So we'll just round up to 30 years with Xerox. It started out with a small company called Saxon Business Systems back in 1992-ish, 3-ish, whenever, way back then. And I came on board as a sales rep selling office equipment to businesses, and we grew that business from 6 million to 30 million. And Xerox back in 2008 decided to buy us. And so then we became Xerox, and I worked with them. That's when I went from sales into learning and development. And then I transferred over to the mothership about, maybe 2 years ago, and worked with the World L&D team and developing training materials for sales reps and IT services and stuff like that. So it's been a fun, long career with Xerox.
When you started with the company that was then purchased by Xerox, had you been in sales before? Do you have a background in sales?
No, sir. It was not too, long after college that I started working there. I did have my own business. And it's funny, the gentleman that was interviewing, my mentor, I'm sitting there in my head going, why would he want to hire me? I got no sales experience, nothing at all. And I asked him on my, after he hired me, I go, why'd you hire me? I have no sales experience. He goes, what are you talking about? He goes, you have your own business. And what did you do every single day? You had to go talk to people and sell yourself and your business. That's selling, Tony. All you got to do is sell yourself. And from that point on, I only sold myself. I never sold my company. And people buy from people.
That's exactly right. People buy you. They don't necessarily buy your product. I did not know until right now that you owned your own business. What type of business was that?
That's what I was going to ask.
Yeah, I've had a few. The one that at that time in my life was called the Paint Wizard. And a very good college friend of mine, we started that business and built it up. What we did is we bought a system, and back then it was on microfiche. That's how low tech it was.
Little fish. It was
little tiny fish, little microfiche. And we were able to go and match we'd get the year and the make and the model of the car and the color, and we would match that paint, and we would go and do little cosmetic repairs. So if you had those stone chips in your hood, we would go in and fill them in. If you had a scuff on your bumper, instead of painting the whole bumper in the auto shop, where it might cost you $800 to $1,200, we would do it for $250 and do it right in your driveway. And we were mobile. And that was that was the second business I owned.
So you said that was your second business. What was the first business?
The first business was I opened up a restaurant with my brother. And restaurant is a tough business, but it's even tougher when you do it with family, especially when you're two Italian hot-headed brothers. So we worked well, and then shortly after that, that's when I moved down to South Florida, and I started the Paint Wizard. And then when I lived out in Colorado, I had a windshield repair business as well. So outside of Tradebank is the fourth business I've personally owned throughout my career, is also working for Xerox.
So how did you get attracted, or how did you even hear about Trade Bank and decide to buy a franchise?
How much time do we have? Because that's a long story.
200 words or less.
It's funny. I got like some good friends that have been trading, and I've always throughout my career have helped my friends with their businesses. And they would say, "Hey, Tony, how do I do this or do this?" And I would come in and help them out. And I never asked for money, so they would always give me restaurant script on trade. And I'm like, "Wow, what is this monopoly money?" And we'll just show it at the restaurant. All you got to do is pay the tax and the tip. And I'm like, "Oh, wow, that's nice." So I was going out and trying all these restaurants, and my friend's friend owned a local little barter company, and he wanted to sell it. He was 78 years old. So I, wanted to get my own business, and I started engaging with him. And then through that whole process, I was introduced to another person who happened to know Valerie. And I was introduced to Valerie, and I was up in Georgia doing a training session, and I had dinner with Valerie. And we talked for about 2-3 hours, and we just connected, and she was very direct and straightforward. And there was a support system. There was other owners versus buying a small local company where I wasn't going to have that support. I decided to go with Trade Bank. And that's how the long, road to get to Trade Bank, happened for me. And I've enjoyed it. I'm learning a lot. It's amazing how much I do not know about the trade business just by going to a few restaurants. I thought I understood it, but I'm learning, and I'm continuing to learn.
Well, we're glad you did, because you are a great regional owner and you have the perfect personality to have a Trade Bank franchise. So that worked out the way it was supposed to. Do you have a favorite Trade Bank story at this point? I'm sure you have several, but do you have one that just kind of sticks out as a favorite?
Yeah, buying the business and then going right into shutdown, with the pandemic, that wasn't fun for me. And let me tell you, it wasn't fun for most people. And a lot of people struggled, and I had this one client that wanted to start the year different, and, cash was tough last year for him, but he had trade, and he wanted to buy his wife some jewelry. And I connected him with someone here locally, and he went in and bought his wife a diamond ring that he wouldn't have been able to do with cash. So he bought that $3,000 diamond ring. It cost him $360 cash. And it was just awesome to see that happen. And, and the motto is happy wife, happy life. And it was just kind of a cool story for me that he, really wanted to get his wife something to start the year out new with. And that's what he did.
Oh, that's a very sweet story. I like that.
Yes, it is.
This has got a member called the Pearl Lady that's on trade in Huntsville, Alabama. And so my wife likes perusing through that lady's Facebook page and finding some nice stuff there, which she can spend her trade dollars on, which is pretty cool.
Absolutely.
Well, Tony's got a pretty special member that he and I have talked about before this started recording in Florida Vacation Villas. Can you tell us a little bit about Rob and his business?
Rob's just a great guy. One of the first people I met when I bought the Trade Bank franchise. And he's been a Trade Bank member all the way back since the beginning of Trade Bank. And he sat me down and just really encouraged me and said it's a great business and taught me a lot. And he's actually one of my mentors, but Florida Vacation Villas is a great spot. He has 1 and 2 bedroom condominiums that you can come down. It's within minutes of all the Disney parks and all the parks. And it's just fun working with him because he understands trade as well as, just has a great destination for people from out of the state of Florida to come down and enjoy Mickey Mouse.
Now, see, that sounds very enticing to me. I had one of my children worked at the House of Mouse for several years. So being able to come, but what I'm hearing is I can come to Orlando and stay near a Disney property on trade.
On trade, 100% trade.
That's
And
fantastic.
that includes the cleaning fee too. Most of the times when you go places, there's a cash cleaning fee. If you stay 7 days or more, there's no cash cleaning fee. And that's a nice little touch that he does with his place.
That's cool. I guess once my kids hear that, I know where they're going to want to go.
We'll just have him give me a call and we'll take care of him.
Your dad'll have to pony up some more of them trade bank dollars, I'm sure. So that's great. So what about yourself, Tony? You've been involved now for how long?
Well, since March of last year, and like I said, 2 weeks after I bought the business and inked the paper, we went into complete shutdown. So I really say, you know, I got gung-ho. I mean, I talked, I learned a lot, but my, you know, my drive has been since about mid-January of this year. So when I listed on, you know, my LinkedIn page, it's actually going to say April 1st. Is what that will say. So, but you know, since last March is how long I've been doing it.
Right. And so what have you found when you've gone out and you've talked to the clients? Did you get any insight as somebody who didn't grow up around Barter, right? Although you've been involved in a little bit with your friends helping you out and giving you those the Barter credit, the script as we used to call it back in the day from different Barter companies. Have you picked up any insights that maybe you could share with our listeners, some of which are trade bank members and some of which are not trade bank members and are looking maybe at Barter for the first time?
Well, it's funny. You know, I'm learning, and one of the approaches, you know, when you do office equipment sales, it's a very direct sale. I mean, they already have the equipment. They hate talking to you. It's a pain for them to have to buy their new photocopier, you know, whereas with this, it's the approach of helping that business. How can, you know, trade really help that business do more with their cash and keeping that cash in their pocket? And that's my approach when I do talk to clients. From the client aspect, over the last few months, it's, you know, I'm getting, wow, this is a neat concept. This is really different. And I thought everybody knew about trade, and not everybody knows about the trade business. And it's kind of cool talking to someone that, you know, is completely blind to what it's all about and how it works. And you know, and I stole your line, Ed. I go, it's taking things that you have and, you know, taking that and getting things that you need, you know, using a cashless transaction. And they scratch their head and go, man, that's just really cool. And then they want to know more. And then we talk about it. And so that's kind of, you know, my approach to them. And I love the ones that have no idea about it, because if I make a mistake, you don't know I made a mistake, you know. But and then there's the seasoned people. Oh, I've been trading for 10 years and I belong to 6 different trade companies nationally, and I'm like, oh, I'll never be able to get them. They go, no, but hey, you know, I'm always open for more trade, and I call those the super traders. And you know, when they belong to multiple trade companies.
Yeah, we had that with a couple of weeks ago with Randy Lee, right? Lisa, he's one of your guys down in your neck of the woods. Started out with Jurgen from Chattanooga and then moved up to Huntsville. And that guy will trade with anybody. Like if you stand still long enough, he'll find a way to trade with you and barter with you. And he's so good at it too. I've been listening to his podcast lately. It's a pretty good deal. Like, I don't know that I want to flip cars, but just the different guests he has on it. It's called the flippinggenius.com. It's 1G, Flipping Genius. And he's just really good, and he has great guests on. And I'm like, I really don't have any interest in flipping cars, but just the guests have been great. So, but he's that guy. He's that guy you're talking about, Tony. He will barter with anybody. So
that's awesome.
He's really excellent about talking to our new members here and teaching them how to utilize their trade dollars in the best way possible. So he's like the godfather of barter here.
The godfather of barter. Yeah, as long as I don't wake up with a horse's head in beside my. on the
Exactly.
or something. You know, I was going to make a joke about the Two Wise Guys restaurant, you know, but I forgot about it. So you get to my age.
Yeah.
But I want to take this second right now and talk to our viewers and listeners. I am launching another podcast. And for those of you that aren't watching this on YouTube, but those of you that are watching this on YouTube, oh, that's kind of funny. The green screen's showing through. I'm holding up my coffee mug that says Wake Up Call with Ed and Paul at edandpaul.com. And so next week, we are launching 2 podcasts. We're launching a 5-minute podcast that's called The News Briefs. And don't worry, you won't see whether we're wearing briefs or boxes. And we're going to talk about all sorts of stuff. And I've got some dad jokes I'm going to unleash on that 5-minute call. And then we're going to do a 25-minute call. And that will be where we have a guest come on and talk about either their business success or the business challenges and see if we can help them and see whether any of that resonates with you guys out there. So check us out at Wake Up Call with Ed and Paul. That's my commercial for today. So now back to our regularly scheduled program. Almost need like the bat ring and the music like spinning to come back to the TV show.
Yeah, you know, Lisa, it's funny you said you have a super trader that, you know, helps with your new clients. I have one of those too. A good friend of mine, Eric Schulman, the Inside Man. He's actually done a couple webinars for me, you know, how to have fun and profit with barter. And he just gets on there in his whole office. He just points at things. Hey, I see that ukulele. Yeah, I got that on barter. You see this chair I'm sitting in? I got this on barter. This desk I'm using, I got this on barter. You know, that guitar and amp, I got this on barter. And he just makes it very real for people, you know, how simple it is. And it's not all about your business. It's your personal, you know, life too that you can barter with.
Yeah, why pay cash when you can pay trade? It's just, for some people, I interviewed I actually went to do a sales call on a lady that owned a coffee shop. And I said, look, she didn't know that I already owned a coffee shop as well as TradeBank. But one of the things I started talking about, one of the things I love about coffee is the margins are really good. In our 12-ounce latte, you've got about $1.50 in it and you're selling it for $4 to $5. That's a pretty good margin. And she folds her arms and she says, that's not the margin that's in coffee. I'm like, okay. And so this went on for a little while. And I said, why did you agree to meet with me? Because she said these words. She said, I never barter or trade. I just pay cash. It's just easier that way. And I didn't understand that because I always like paying half price for everything. Like I am frugal. And if you're frugal, you don't like spending cash. And so for me, barter was an easy way, right? I mean, I don't know if you run into any of that, but it was really funny. She wouldn't share with me her margins on her coffee. And she says, I only pay cash. And I'm like, funnily enough, she called our company out to fix her espresso machine and she couldn't afford to pay for it. Now, if she'd been taking trade, we could have done all the labor on TradeBank, but she had to wait to get her coffee machine fixed, which means she wasn't making money. Well, the coffee machine was down because she couldn't afford to pay cash. But I didn't go back and say, Nina told you so. See, I was reserved.
Good for you, Ed.
Thank you for that reservation.
Yeah.
I'm sure she appreciated it.
Speaking of reservations, while you were on vacation, Lisa, we took a trip to Huntsville, not just because you left Huntsville. We didn't know that at the time. Alice and I came down, the most wonderful wife in the world, and that's trademark. And we went to one of Lisa's restaurants called Nick's Restaurante.
Oh, it was fabulous, wasn't it?
Oh my gosh. Like, luckily I had my insulin pen because we decided that we were going to do a baked Alaska.
Oh my gosh, best thing in the place.
And the baked Alaska was like, it was like the size of a baby. Like it was just a slice of it. And he pours the liqueur or whatever he pours over it and he lights it on fire. My eyebrows are singed. Not really, but I'm just adding. And everybody's like, oh, look at that. Oh, look at that. That's wet. Oh, that's awesome. And I'm like, oh yeah. And it tastes good too. And I'm not sharing. And then Alex brings up a spoon. He snuck her a spoon. And so she's like digging in and I'm digging in. It was the best thing ever. I have to tell you, we would have never have done that. We would have never have gone there. We would have never have known about him if it wasn't able to just be brought up on my app. I looked on TradeBank restaurants within 2 hours and Nick's Restaurante came up and I'm like, oh yeah, I remember Lisa talking about that. So I called the office, got a reservation and I went down there and we had a blast. I also stayed at your new hotel. Is it Avid? I always forget.
Avid? Avid.
Man, the people there are awesome. Like, I wrote reviews for both of them, but
Oh,
they are
thank you.
just
I
incredible.
appreciate that.
And Alice and I like the hotel rooms where you like get the room darkening shades.
Mm-hmm.
So we drove to Huntsville, Alabama. We stayed in a hotel. We ate at a restaurant, and we actually ate at one of the barbecue restaurants,
Mm-hmm. Bark and Barrel.
Bark and Barrel. And we met, is it Steve?
Stan.
Stan. Sorry. We met Stan, and we had a great conversation with him, and they've got they make their own pork rinds. And anyway, so that's my trade bank story. The latest three places, the hotel, the Bark and Barrel, and Nick's Restaurante that we would have never have tried. Oh, we even hit another one on the way out of town. What's the coffee shop? Like Charlie
Foster's.
Charlie Foster's. Yeah, my wife got a chai at there. So all we had out of cash was in your particular region, I think is we always tip. All the gratuities are in cash. So we were out just a very little bit of cash and the gas to get there. My wife loved it. She's like, when can we go back? Can we move to Huntsville and just eat at Nick's every night? I'm like, do you want me to be 600 pounds? So anyway, so that's my trade story and bragging on Lisa's region, because you just never know where you're going to find these great places to spend trade dollars at. Do you have a favorite that you are spending some trade dollars on, Tony, or you haven't earned a bunch of trade dollars yet, I would imagine?
Well, the latest thing that I did on trade was, it's funny, 2 days before the coldest 3 days in Florida, my heat went out. And I'm like, oh my gosh, great. I got to buy a new AC unit, and get some heat in here, because 75 is cold to my wife and my daughters, so when it's down in the high 50s, low 60s, it's like we're living in Iceland. And then all of a sudden, like 2 days later, the AC units out of Alabama come across, and I'm like, oh, this is great. So I bought an AC unit on trade, and it's funny, 11 years ago when I had an AC unit put in, it cost me $5,100 for the unit and had it installed. This one being put in cost me $2,700 in cash because I did it on trade, so cash out of pocket. So that's my big personal story. Haven't traveled yet outside of going up for trade bank trainings and then coming out and seeing Lisa's area for the RO meeting.
Right.
But yeah, no, that AC unit saved me a lot of cash.
Cool. Yeah, it's just amazing. Once you start utilizing it, there's just hundreds and thousands of ways. And people go, oh, can you tell me everybody that's in Trade Bank? I'm like, dude, that would be like me telling you everybody that's on Amazon. Like, come on. It's 100,000 products and services. I'm good, but I ain't that good.
Yeah, that is the number one question I get when I talk to people. Well, who will I be trading with?
Who do you want to trade?
Who do you want to trade with? Exactly.
Right. Yeah, I've started telling my new clients, I'm like, look, if there is somebody that's not on trade, and trust me, we have a lot, but there's some things that aren't there that you might want. Like I had one guy who wanted to sell a 10-foot metal brake. Do you even know what a 10-foot metal brake is? I didn't. I had to look it up. It's like this stuff for bending and fabricating sheet metal. And he's like, oh, sell this for me on trade. I'm like, dude, where am I going to sell that for you on trade? Like, I don't know. So there's going to be some times where we can't find the product or service. So I started telling them, look, if you've got a favorite place that you want to trade with, hit them up and say, hey, you got to talk to my friend Ed. You got to come barter some of this stuff. Barter your excess inventory. Barter your unused capacity. And they're like, oh, we can do that? I'm like, yeah, Trade Bank even gives you like a little thank you of 200 trade dollars for if somebody else joins trade that you recommended. I mean, it's, it's not, we're not going to say, hey, go do this and get $200. We're going to say, hey, if you do this, we'd love to thank you with just $200. And I always tell my guys, I say, hey, take them out for lunch. Spend some of your $200 referral money and take them out for lunch.
Great
idea.
We had
a similar story in our region last week. I had a young lady ask for the wine and design, the paint and sip parties. Talked to a couple of local people that did those and had one in within 7 days after she asked for it. So sometimes it is, I love it when my members tell me, hey, we don't have paint and sip parties on trade. Well, we do now.
Yeah, I like your CSA story. I didn't know what a CSA was. Like when we use some of that verbiage, like you don't know. Like my story is a mani-pedi, right? So my hairdresser went and she's advertising mani-pedis on trade. And I'm like, oh, that's just for men. I'm going to go do those man-e-pedis. It's just for men. No, it's not just for men. I didn't know. But anyway, so I didn't know what a CSA was. Remember, Lisa? And we had to look it up. Like community sourced agriculture or something.
Mm-hmm. Local farm, and we can even get groceries now and get them on trade. They deliver them here a couple of times a month.
I can get me tomatoes on trade. That'd be good. I need a CSA in Nashville. That's awesome.
Tomato.
Potato. Let's call the whole thing off.
There you go.
So anything else? Lisa, do you have any other questions for Toni?
That covered everything for me. I'm just grateful, Toni, to you for sharing your wisdom and your humor and putting up with us, especially Ed.
Yeah, I know. But thank you. Yeah, no, thank both of you for having me. This was a lot of fun. And I'm looking forward to taking Trade Bank to the next level.
Cool. And we're here whoa, some feedback there. Anyway, we're here to help you if you need it. So just reach out to Lisa and I, and you're a great regional owner. We're so glad you're involved with us, and we're glad you could come on the show. I love the way that the reflection in the glass in the back there, for those of you that are watching it on YouTube, it sort of gives you that, like that Madonna.
I got my halo going on. There we go.
Yeah, that's
and then the light bouncing off the moon here, the bald side of the moon.
Yeah, so people, hey, you can check this out on our podcast and all the great podcast platforms, whether it's Google Podcasts or iTunes or Spotify, doesn't matter. You can find us there. And then we also have a YouTube channel and a Facebook page that you can watch the videos there as well. So love you to subscribe, reach out and subscribe, hit that subscribe button, and then set it up for automatic downloads. So if you're in an area that doesn't have internet and you've already downloaded it, you don't have to not hear your weekly dose of Ed and Lisa. It's just that easy, folks. It's just that easy. So my wife drives through a internet dead zone, and I set up a phone last night. She goes, oh, it cut off halfway through listening to you and Lisa. I'm like, I'm not going to tell you the punchline of the joke now because I told you to download it. She goes, oh, can you just do it for me? And so I set it up so they all download for her when she's at home on Wi-Fi. And then as she's driving to work, it won't cut off on her, which is pretty cool.
Very cool.
So, yeah, that technology stuff. Hey, thanks a lot. And look for this. This episode should be out in a couple of days. Or actually, next Tuesday it'll be out.
Looking forward. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Toni. Bada bing, bada boom.
Bada bing, bada boom. It's just that easy.
It's just that easy.
I don't sound like you when I say bada bing, bada boom.
It still sounds good, though.
Yeah, okay.